Hello and welcome to BETT 2024. I'm your host for this session, Chris Healey, and at Lenovo I am the Edge Compute Business Manager for the UK. My co-host who joins me here today is Adrian, who works for Synectics.
Hi, I'm Adrian McClenaghan. I'm Business Development Manager for Synectics, based in the UK, and we provide surveillance and security solutions across the UK and across the globe for many different sectors, one of which is education. So very happy to be here. Thanks for hosting me, Chris.
Really good to have you. So what we're going to be talking about today is computer surveillance, edge computing within an education setting, and maybe we'll broach some other topics. But before we get into that, how was your journey down?
Yeah, well, it wasn't too bad. I left at about 5:45, so I've had a reasonable amount of coffee so far today. I've been trying to walk that off as we've been spending a bit of the morning here. So yeah, I'm feeling okay.
Right. So we'll ask our viewers to comment if they see you nodding off at any point in time.
That would be miraculous if I did, but yeah, maybe it might happen. Who knows?
All right. Okay. So let's jump straight into it. So when you're working in the education sector, what are the main areas of focus for Synectics?
So the education sector, certainly higher education is where we've had a lot of projects and where we work with a lot of clients, and it's been nice to see some of those guys here today. There's a number of different things that we need to take into account, and certainly they need to take into account when they're planning a surveillance and security project. I'd say the first thing that we always think about is the stakeholders that we're trying to help.
Right.
In a university, you have a number of different stakeholder groups. So you have your staff, you have your students. Of course, they pay the bills, they pay to go to the university. And of course, you have the general public. So not all of those stakeholder groups actually have the same needs. So students might be happy to be, surveyed and dealt with in a certain way for safety reasons. Members of the general public may not be as happy to be surveyed in that way. And staff, certainly, they'll be moving around and, they'll be expected to be surveyed in buildings and libraries and restaurants, etc. So that's quite a key thing. We need to make sure that we take into account those stakeholder groups. The second thing I'd say is universities are huge, right? So Coventry University being one of our clients, it's a 33-acre campus.
Wow, that's massive.
Huge. And that's actually within the city of Coventry. So it's not a big green site, it's actually intermingled with public spaces.
Right.
So, we have to be very careful. All of those buildings have to be monitored, all the open spaces have to be monitored, and any of those stakeholder groups could be in those spaces at any time. So you have thousands of cameras that you need to manage. You need to make sure that you get it right, because of course, if something goes really wrong, you have to call in the police, or you have to let third-party stakeholders know that something
manage that
has happened.
situation.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
And after the event, right? So storage is really important. We have to go back and say what happened on Tuesday last week because somebody's made a complaint. So it becomes quite vital that they're able to do that in quite a seamless way. I think the third thing that we really think about as well is, what kind of integrations that setup might have, that site may have. So things like access control, things like fire alarm notifications. We're trying to give operators that single pane of glass to make decisions in a timely fashion.
So aggregating all of those data collection points back to a single pane of glass.
Correct, yeah. So they get the information coming into them, they can make decisions, we can track those decisions, so you can see what happened at the time, you can have some learning after that, but they can also open a door if necessary, they can raise a barrier if that's needed. They can acknowledge alarms from doors being open, left open, etc. So,
I mean, we were talking earlier about emerging sort of AI-driven technologies that are helping you search that data to find specific things, a certain characteristic. And those sort of technologies, are they beginning to become more prevalent in these markets?
Yeah, I'd say that they are certainly something that has been available for many years. There's been a number of companies that have used analytics. That we spoke earlier on about the company that can use facial recognition instead of your passport now to get on the Eurostar to travel to France, which is
I've
pretty
experienced
amazing.
That myself, yeah,
right,
absolutely.
exactly,
yeah, it's really
and it's come from being science fiction to now being fact, So yeah, there's some things around AI that are quite interesting, and we certainly get involved in that quite heavily. So
brilliant. Okay, so then from a Lenovo angle, when it comes to your relationship, your partnership with Lenovo, what's been important to you as a company that we're able to provide you?
So I think straight off the bat, performance is very, very important for what we do. We need to make sure that if you're running 1,000, 2,000, 20,000 cameras and you're taking those feeds into a platform, technology platform, it needs to be able to process that, it needs to be able to store it, and you need to be able to work with that data on a live basis.
Sure, right.
And of course, not everybody deploys Cray supercomputers, of course.
We can't all afford them, unfortunately.
No, that's true. And so there had to be that whole trade-off of ratio of price versus performance. Absolutely. Okay. And what we very much found with Lenovo was, it met all the markers in terms of what our clients were looking for, and it met our markers in terms of how the software would perform, and it was at the right, value as well. So that made a big difference for us. I think also Lenovo were very, very helpful in helping us to design the platform for maximum security. So we worked very closely with Lenovo to make sure there was nothing spurious. We really cut down the attack surface. So any unnecessary hardware or drivers that weren't needed, we asked for those to be removed. So we have a really locked down, skinnied up version of the OS, and effectively we're being cyber secure as well. Right. So that was really important.
We've always been happy to work with companies to work through those problems and to hone their solution to really work with the ecosystem that they're installing it within. How about the reliability, routes to market? Are they important topics for you?
Absolutely. So we're a global business.
Right.
So we have offices in the US, in Southeast Asia, Germany, UK, and it's very important. It was very important for us that we were working with a world-class partner. We're very, very, very well known globally in terms of security. So we wanted to work with somebody who shared that sort of ethos and was a global business. We know that we can deliver hardware anywhere in the world, and it will perform to the same standard. So that was vital. And we work very well together. We've met some customers together. It's been a very good relationship so far, and I'm sure that will continue.
What's next? What's the new technology that's on the horizon for you? Where are we going with this?
So, you mentioned AI, right? I think you can't really go out your front door without hearing about AI these days.
It's everywhere, isn't it?
It's everywhere, yeah. AI-based yogurts, AI-based groceries, you name it. But I think AI really, just to clarify that a little bit, AI is not a product, right? It's a theory, it's a framework of...
A concept, yeah.
It's a concept, exactly. And that is something that we are still trying to talk to customers about a little bit. It is definitely there. We are providing video analytics. It's something that you really have to be careful and make a business case for. If you consider video and you have people who are using 4K streams or infrared or whatever it may be in terms of the quality of video, we need to be able to take that in, process it, look for things depending upon what criteria are set for the analytics, and we need to be able to alarm the operators a condition has been reached. So the performance of the hardware is very, very key in that scenario. Of course, the more performance you need out of the hardware, the more expensive it gets. So the cost justification, the business case needs to be really, really tight.
That return on investment.
It's huge. It's huge because, you can imagine in one of our clients being a casino, they have 1,000 cameras, they're looking for very specific things. If you just decide you're going to put analytics on every camera, probably blows out of the water what they've got now. They really need to invest heavily in the hardware as well. So they tend to take a drip approach of putting a certain number on and then processing that and then growing it like that. So
yeah, we come up against that quite a lot, especially with edge computing. People want to gather all of the information. They want to create this huge data lake of information. And I think the key is to actually identify what it is that you need to capture versus, the noise around that information, so that you can then get the insights that you need and keep the storage down to a reasonable cost level. So yeah, I think AI training a model is becoming more and more important, especially within the surveillance area.
Absolutely, yeah. And we're trying to work with, image has been something in surveillance that's been around forever, right back to analog cameras, but we're trying to work with those images in a very different way. So the feed might be the same, but what you're looking for might be different because you never really had the opportunity to interrogate it in that way before. So you can start to look at historic data in a different way. Are you looking for some sort of fraud that's happening? Are you looking for theft that went undetected? There's certain things you can start to do if you get the business case right that you couldn't do before. So that's important.
Okay, and then are you seeing more of a move away from putting all of that data into the cloud to storing some of it locally, or is the hybrid cloud sort of conversation in your area yet?
It's interesting. So in what we do, a lot of clients tend to keep their surveillance data on site.
Local.
So
okay.
because that's for performance reasons. It's for security reasons. If they're doing something that's quite secure, they want to keep it local. We do have some clients who do some offsite processing of the data or offsite storage, and we have got some clients who do 100% cloud, but they'd be real bleeding edge examples of that type of solution. Okay. Processing the data can happen on the camera in some instances. It can happen on a server. It can happen on a nice Jetson box for a limited number of cameras. So there's a number of different ways of doing that. Of course, it's all resource intensive, so you need to get that piece really correct when you're speccing it out.
And I suppose the immediacy of getting the answer to, especially in a security scenario where, minutes might matter.
Yeah.
It is really important. So any delay, any lag in getting to that information is important for your customer.
The rule set around AI is really important for analytics and video, but also what alarms you raise, right? So
what you do with that data.
Exactly. So you could have one frame of video that churns out 50 alarms, but you only really want to know when somebody's not wearing a face mask, for example. So you have to really be tight on what you filter out and what you filter in. That's important as well.
Right. Okay.
Too many alarms for one person to deal with there's no point in having the alarms, right? So you've got to make sure that they're useful, they're valuable, and they can be reacted to.
We've all experienced that with security systems in the past.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Right. So, well, thank you very much for joining us. Is there anything else that you would like to cover? Is there something that we need to we haven't commented on already?
All I'd say on the AI stuff that we spoke about, data protection laws are pretty key to that. So
absolutely.
It's interesting different jurisdictions, how they interpret that. So facial recognition, we briefly spoke about that earlier. There's a little bit of a hot topic of conversation around that in the UK, as I'm sure you're aware.
Absolutely, yeah. Can I guess that? I mean, do you have solutions where you can pixelate the image of somebody's face depending on your role so that only the police can see the identities?
Absolutely, yeah. So we actually go one step further than that, and we can actually box out somebody's entire body. And the reason we do that is because if I have a Man United or an Everton tattoo,
right.
It still identifies me
as a person.
So I would be able to be identified from my tattoos, for example,
right.
or birthmarks or other distinguishing features that may not just be the face. So we can actually block out the body. That becomes quite useful. And then again, that data can be used evidentially, so it can be taken to court, it can be used by the police. Innocent people aren't being trawled through the courts for image purposes, which is important.
Right, you can hone it into just the subject that you need.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a really interesting conversation, and so thank you very much to our viewers. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. If you need to learn more, then please follow to our website or to the Synectics website that they have posted, and please ensure that you share and follow our chat.